Good evening and welcome to this special meeting of the Board of Selectmen on April the 11th. Everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we're going to dispense with all of the no public hearings, no announcements, and we're gonna go right to old business, item A, which is discuss vote on the FY '24 warrant, which includes all of the numbers that we voted on last week on the budget. So the warrant for all practical purposes has been revised, and we'll try to get through this without too many revisions this evening. So the warrant will be posted after we sign off and approve this evening. And typically we'll go through the greetings and all of that stuff. Article 1 is to elect a moderator to preside at said election. Article 2 is to elect all necessary town officials by secret ballot as follows. Selectmen, we elect 2 3-year terms. We have a vacancy for a selectman, elect 1. That term will run through June of 2024. RSU number 57, Board of Directors, elect 1, which is a 3-year term. Water District, which is elect 1, and we conduct the Water District vote for them. And that's a 3-year term. And then we have 6 positions on the Charter Commission, which was voted on in November to establish a charter commission, and we have 6 positions open for that. And unless there's any questions with regard to Article 1 and 2, we're just going to jump to Article 3. Because I think
if nobody takes papers out for the Charter Commission, that's still got to be put on the ballot. And people could write certain people in, but they've got to come before the town clerk prior to that in order to show that they're interested in it, I believe.
Yeah, and I think
There's some, it ain't like it was 25 or 30 years ago, where if you write somebody in and you get 10 write-ins, you go into office, because you yourself, if you're interested, you gotta show an interest to the town clerk prior.
Should I get Marina and ask?
And that has to be done, according to state law, by this Friday, by the end of business. This is the last day for write-in candidates only to return their papers or their intent to be a write-in candidate. So I'm not quite sure why state law changed that, but it did. So Friday, the 14th at close of business, right, 5 p.m. You have to at least inform the town clerk that you have an intent to be a write-in candidate for Charter Commission or any position for that matter. Monday the 1st of May is the nomination papers due by the end of the business day. So anyway, unless there's any other questions on 1 and 2, we'll go through this, and if there's any, at the end of this, we'll take a motion to approve the entire warrant. So Article 3 is to see if the town will vote to authorize the purchase of a new transfer station roll-off truck and to finance said purchase through a lease purchase agreement in principal amount of about $260,000 and appropriate the proceeds thereof for the purpose of financing the cost of a roll-off truck through the details of such borrowing, including but not limited to provisions related to prepayment, dates, term, and interest rates to be determined by the Board of Selectmen, and the debt service payment to be subject to annual projections. If we order this truck today, it will not be delivered for more than 18 months,
It could
basically.
be, it could be an extended period.
So we don't anticipate any financial impact to this year's budget. This just gives us permission, like we did a couple of years ago with the new rescue unit, right?
Right.
So,
But if one is secured prior to, it is still deferred out 1 year.
right.
That's it.
So the note continues, the estimated debt service is $295,760, of which $260 is principal. We've kind of guesstimate at this point 4.722% over 4 years. So that's what will be on the agenda, or the warrant, okay? And that will be covered under Article 3. Article 4 is to support the planning, engineering, and appropriation of $50,000 towards the construction, planning, and engineering of a public works facility, and authorize the town administrator, Board of Selectmen, to apply for any available grant funding that might be available. Both the Budget Committee and the Board of Selectmen recommend ought to pass, and there's an explanatory note. We are fast approaching the dilemma that we might have 3 years from now, and with no one to plow the town's roads. So we are in this process of trying to at least initiate some action to start the planning process, and part of that process may very well cost us some funds to establish that a site is the correct site to have the building produced or erected at. So again, the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee recommend ought to pass. Article 5 is the petition that was done, and I believe that was after at the November election. Should the town of Waterboro, Maine allow medical marijuana retail business to operate under the Maine Medical Use of Marijuana Act, 22 MRSA, Chapter 558C, outlined in the ordinance titled Medical Cannabis Retail Store Ordinance. So there is an ordinance that has been prepared, and that was part of the petition. And we have had that ordinance reviewed by legal. So there are some steps that the planning board will have to take, and I know that they've got an upcoming workshop to, if this passes, to put that language in. Article 6, town will vote to authorize the IT department with the fiscal approval from the town administrator to appropriate up to $25,000 of franchise fees to enter into joint partnerships with the cable TV company, currently Spectrum or Charter, and/or in conjunction with the state or federal grants for the purpose of expanding broadband internet to unserved areas in the town of Waterboro. The money is not to be raised in taxes. It is to be part of the franchise fee We didn't use any this year, right, David?
We did.
We did.
Oh, we did?
We used
Okay.
18,000 with Lucas Road Extension.
Okay.
And they've all extended their thanks to the town.
Okay.
For that as well.
So last year, we did Deering Ridge Road, the extension from Stonegate all the way through to,
Almost to Edith Huey, right?
yeah, almost to Edith Huey Road. That was an unserved area. There's now 7 or 8 houses in that area. This year, we did McLucas Extension, right?
Yep.
So we would take another bite of that in the coming year. Any questions on 6? 7, see the town will raise or appropriate with selectmen for this. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the selectmen's recommendation of $2,960,139 for government expense for FY '24 as detailed below, and that includes general government, loans and leases, insurance, workers' comp, medical, social security, town clerk, tax collector, treasurer, information technology, emergency repairs, broadcasting equipment, municipal building repairs, fuel, hydrant rental, general assistance, and York County taxes. Article 8 is to see if the town will raise and appropriate the selectmen's recommendation of $26,000 for the selectmen's salaries for FY '24 as detailed below. So we recommended $26,000, that is $5,000 for each member and $1,000 for the chair in addition. Questions? Stop me if you have any. Article 9, the town will raise and appropriate for selectmen's recommendation of $318,407 for tax assessor, CEO, planning board, planning department, and zoning board of appeals for FY '24 as detailed below. So that's the breakout of tax assessor, code CEO, planning board, planning department, and ZBA, okay? Which is actually down a bit from previous years. Article 10, see if the town will raise and appropriate selectmen's recommendation of $535,248 for the Waterboro Library and Rec Department for FY '24 as detailed below. Library is $121,840. The Recreation Department is $384,755. Article 11, town will vote to raise.
You had a mistake
Yeah.
there, Dennis, I think. Didn't you say 121?
121,840.
It should have been 152.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Where?
152.
Article 10.
Oh,
152, 112, you're right. I crossed up the columns here.
Yep.
383, 136, okay? Article 11 is raise and appropriate selectmen's recommendations of $2,740,696 for trash disposal, transfer station, public works for FY '24 as detailed below. So $830,000 for the transfer station, $830,220, $1.9 million, $10,476 for public works, which includes a significant increase in our snowplow contract for the current fiscal year. Article 12, I won't go through the reading of this, but we are recommending $95,000 for the annual debt service payment of certain capital equipment in the FY '24 municipal budget. And this is for equipment, which includes wood chipper for Department of Public Works, F-550 truck, 3/4 ton truck for Department of Public Works, expedition tools for the fire department, financing of said lease purchase agreements. Principal is estimated at $278,500. However, to pay those leases would be recommended $95,000.
There was multiple lease agreements in that.
Right, so the total estimate, debt service is $313,428, $278,500, which is principal, and at the interest rate. So the recommendation to pay for this specific CIP program is $95,000. Article 13, raise and appropriate selectmen's recommendation of $70,700 for building improvements as detailed below. Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee recommend not to pass. So this is the building improvements of $70,700. Improvements for the planning costs of Public Works Facility, DPW storage, shed roof, and the transfer station fencing. Are we double counting the 50,000?
No,
Nope.
that's been removed and put into
Okay.
Article 3.
All right. Article 14 is $180,000, $120 for capital improvements for upgrade of roads. And Jason, I'm sure, has a list of roads. If there's any question, I think most of it is going to be to reclaim 5,400 lineal feet of middle road and resurfacing of that middle road, so. Article 15 is, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the selectmen's recommendation of $1,653,103 for fire department and EM service for FY24. So, in that article is always the catch-all that says EMS revenues in excess of $20,000 should be held in an account to utilize solely for the purchase of capital equipment as set forth in Article 7 of the Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services Ordinance. So that is in every annual warrant that we vote on. So public safety total is $1.532380. EMS total is $110,730, and the Roscommon Fire Department is $9,993. All right, we split this article out this year specifically to allow an up or down vote. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the selectmen's recommendation of $249,850 for contract deputies of police services for FY24. This gives us the 2 contract deputies. There's some debate of whether, because we had an abstention in the recommended ought to pass from the Board of Selectmen, the Budget Committee voted recommend ought to pass, that we should say, change this to say that the recommended ought to pass by the majority of the board. Anybody have a problem with that?
I don't.
We'll have to change that.
I'll make that a motion if you need it.
Yeah, let's do an amendment, I guess, at this point, right? So we would amend recommended by the majority of the Board of Selectmen ought to pass, right? That would be the,
Just add by majority at the end of it, too.
huh?
Just add by majority at the end of that line.
Yeah, but that's right. Well, all we can do, all we need to put in here is by majority, right?
That would make sense.
I guess so, you know, there's actually a three,
It was,
Well, we had an abstention, so.
yeah, it was 3-0 with an exception.
Right.
yeah,
So, Dwayne, is you okay with making that as a motion?
yeah,
And
second
do I
it.
have a second?
I do.
All those in favor of changing that one line?
Yep.
So we'll have to do that
We're just gonna add by majority,
by majority,
okay.
okay? Article 17 is for miscellaneous committees, $83,227. So there's miscellaneous committees at $59,286, Old Home Days Committee at $8,000, and the miscellaneous agencies that request money on an annual basis of $12,841. So unless anybody has any concerns with that, we approved that budget last week. Article 18 is, town will vote to allow state revenues from registration derived from registration of snowmobiles to be placed in a separate account for the maintenance of fire roads for the year ensuing and to be appropriated under the direction of the fire chief, public works director, and a representative from the from the snowmobile club. And that's, we have to put that in here because we get those monies back on snowmobile registrations.
I got a quick question. How many roads do we have to maintain? And what's considered a fire road?
It's
something
Not-
that's not
not
a town road.
right, not paved, dirt sections. It could be like,
They just clean the brush out of them.
yeah, cut some branches and trees back, do some
Yeah.
gravel, so we can get down there with a
The
four-wheeler.
question is whether these discontinued or abandoned roads with this money put into those roads, does it keep them open?
And the snowmobile club uses those fire roads
Not for the
Yeah.
for
access to the trail.
for access to the trails.
Okay.
Quite a bunch of it was used years ago to go up the mountain, the Pocus Road, and then they closed off part of it so that they can't get up through there. Bennett Hill was the same way. Some of these smaller back roads, Bagley Road, Knight Road,
Yeah.
which have got more and more houses on them.
Ross Corner Road.
So, I mean,
Okay.
Buck Brook,
All right,
so.
thanks.
So Article 19, 20, and 21 kind of really are requirements from the state. See if the town will authorize the tax collector to charge interest in the rate of 8% per year for unpaid taxes. That is a state law. 20 is to see if the town will vote to set the interest rate of 2% on unabated or abated property taxes, and that again is associated with state law, 36 MRSA, Section 506A. And we also have to have a vote to allow us to collect prepayments of taxes, and that is per 36 MRSA, subsection 506 again. Article 22 is something that we have every year, and it authorizes the Public Works Director for the fiscal approval from the town administrator to appropriate public funds on emergency winter maintenance for public safety reasons on private property after determination of an emergency by the fire chief, public works director, and funds to come out of the winter roads maintenance, okay? We are required not to expend funds on any private road. However, if it's in the interest of public safety, we do occasionally sand a road.
Do what it boils down to?
Yes.
Plow it if you
A
have to get
plow
it
and
for
a
an emergency.
to get the ambulance, a fire truck.
Correct,
You
yes.
know,
It's not used a whole
I can't-
lot,
yeah.
but it's occasionally. It
Yeah.
may be.
Article 23, see if the town will authorize the Board of Selectmen on behalf of the town to apply for and accept state, federal grants, grants from nonprofit organizations, donations, or other revenues on behalf of the town for municipal purposes, including, when necessary, the authority to sign grant contracts, documents, and other paperwork, and accept the conditions that accompany grant funds, and to appropriate and expend grant funds or other funds for authorized purposes as the Board of Selectmen deems in the best interest of the town during the upcoming fiscal process of year. That is, again, a legal ease that we have to approve on an annual basis that allows us to accept grants and donations and et cetera. Article 24 goes through all the expected carryover items for the year. Municipal buildings, code enforcement, library, planning department, health, sanitation, public works, general assistance, fuel donations, capital improvements, miscellaneous accounts, unclassified recreation, recycling committee, old home days. So in addition, carryover revenues for APRA funding, incoming funding, code enforcement, for fire detectors, construction bonds, library donations, recreation donations, public safety donations, transfer station metal, general assistance donation, miscellaneous fuel, Christmas donations, and the community garden balance. So that is all a mouthful, but it all is under Article 27, and it says if there are any funds in those accounts, they will be carried forward to the next fiscal year. All right, Article 25 is to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $4,549,509 from non-property tax revenues to be applied to reduce the property tax commitment. So we've gone through an exercise, and I think everybody's got this sheet that says this is the revenue that we expect to come in, okay? And it's $4.5 million and change. Article 26 authorizes the Board of Selectmen to appropriate the amount not to exceed $800,000 from an unassigned fund balance, AKA surplus, to be applied to the municipal budget for the purpose of reducing the property tax commitment for FY24.
And I just left the language from that one for the 800,000 from last year. Because that was the
We
same.
used 6 last year, we can use, and you heard Ron Smith talk about, you know, he thought that it would be prudent to use the full 8 if we had to, all right? So with that, and unless there are any changes, I would entertain a motion to accept the warrant as produced with the one amendment on Article 16.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That conducts our business for this evening, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn,
Second.
6:32. Oops.
Set public hearing date
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
Nope,
So the preparing date for what?
for the,
For the,
Yeah.
thought we already said that.
right, I thought we did.
No,
May
you
2nd.
You did a tentative date, you said
Yeah.
you'd set it tonight,
So what was the tentative date? The
May
sec-
2nd.
Okay, so do I have a motion to set May 2nd as
Yes.
a public hearing?
Okay.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Opposed? Now I'd entertain a
Now you
motion.
can have my motion to adjourn, 6:32.
All those in favor? Oh, David
seconded?
seconded,
It was
right?
already seconded.
David seconded.
Right.
Okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Good night.